very honored to attend the inauguration of President Obama, and I would just share with you all that it was a joyous occasion, and it was quite something special. I was very lucky to have been there.
And report of the Chief of Police.
Good morning, Commissioners. First, I'd just like to thank Commissioner Bernardino for his attendance at the Academy graduation this past Friday. 40 recruits turned into probationary police officers, so it was very...
if I may interrupt, I stand corrected. Class 812 is the best class to graduate from the Academy, as far as I know now. That was a wonderful time, too, Chief. Thank you very much for inviting me.
It was a nice event, and again, it shows the appreciation that the Commission has for the fact that the Police Department has been able to hire over these past 3 years, and it's been really important to our crime picture, which brings me to crime statistics. And of course, I haven't been commenting on crime statistics for the past 4 weeks because they're pretty meaningless as a comparison in such an early part of the year. But I'll comment on them now. We're 4 weeks in. Crime in all categories, all Part 1 categories in the city of Los Angeles is at a significantly lower level than it was in 2011 or 2010. I won't go into the individual categories because, again, it's very early in the year. But violent crime is down 19% compared to last year, almost 30% to 2011. Property crime, which, as you know, we struggled with, as did the rest of the region. Last year, we managed to hold the line on it, but it was very close. This year so far, down 13.9% compared to 2012 and 9.8% compared to 2011. All bureaus of the city are down in crime. Gang crime is also down. Total gang crime down 28% compared to 2012, 44% to 2011. Officer-involved shootings, we've had 3 so far year to date as compared to 6 in 2012, so that's a 50% reduction, and assaults on police officers are also down. Personnel strength. Bear with me as I struggle to turn the page here. We have 10,010 sworn personnel. We have 280 level 1 police reserve officers, 20 level 2s, 130 level 3s, just over 1,000 volunteers. We are still suffering 476 vacancies in our civilian positions, and we have 2,871 civilians on payroll. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Report now from the Executive Director.
Morning, Madam President, members of the Commission. No report today.
Report of the Inspector General.
Thank you, Madam President and Commissioners. Also no report.
Information filed items. Item 5 today, we have noise variance permits on file. More details are all in the completed agenda. For the period ending January 25th, 2013. And there are no special event permits on file for this period. And now for presentations.
Yes, Madam President, Commissioners, you have a presentation from the Police Commission and also from the Chief of Police to retiring Detective 3 Deborah A. Gonzalez. And I'll turn it over to you, Madam President.
Well, thank you very much. Well, it gives me enormous pleasure to be able to make this presentation to Deborah Gonzalez, Detective 3. The Los Angeles Police Commission salutes you on your retirement and more than 31 years of outstanding service to the people of Los Angeles and the Los Angeles Police Department. Moving up through the ranks to Detective 3, you worked and supervised in a variety of assignments, including West Valley Patrol Division, Van Nuys Female Jail Division, Pacific Division, Van Nuys Patrol Division, Van Nuys Area Vice Unit, Employee Opportunity Development Division, Rampart Detective Division, Central Patrol Division, Police Backgrounds Investigations Unit, Office of the Chief of Police, Ombuds Office, and Legal Affairs Division. Throughout your career, You went above and beyond your expected duties and became an expert in many police matters, including narcotics enforcement, vice operations, employment discrimination prevention, conflict management, risk management, and workplace retaliation prevention and leadership. You shared your expertise to the department by instructing police supervisors and managers in how to manage and prevent workplace discrimination. Your outstanding career at LAPD was enhanced by your management involvement in the Los Angeles Women Police Officers and Associates organization as president, co-founder of the Los Angeles Children's Bereavement Support Group and coordinator of the Los Angeles Family Support Group. On behalf of the men and women of the Los Angeles Police Department, the members of the Los Angeles Police Commission commend you on an outstanding career. Your effort, dedication, and expertise have made a difference in the city of Los Angeles. Congratulations and best wishes in your retirement and future endeavors. We're going to make the presentation in just a minute.
You know, Deb, we also have a certificate from the police department, chief of police, and I'm not going to read it to you. It commemorates many things that the president of the police commission talked about. What I wanted to say to you, though, is this: you know, the highest goal that we can have in our lives is to positively affect others and to affect the organizations that we choose to serve. And the Los Angeles Police Department is extremely lucky, and the city of Los Angeles is extremely fortunate that you chose us. You have positively impacted this organization in immeasurable ways. Your tireless representation as the department's, I think initially as a sexual harassment coordinator, eventually as a women's coordinator, and most recently as the assistant to the special assistant for constitutional policing, have made a huge difference. And you have made this a better place to work. You have made this a place that is more respected. And I just can't thank you enough. You've been a personal advisor not only to me, but to previous chiefs of police. And not everybody gets to do that. Not everybody gets to change an organization the way that you have. And I want to thank you for that from the bottom of my heart. You know, you've made this a better place for my daughter to work, for my son to work, and I appreciate that.
I learned my lesson. Oh, shoot, let me turn. Yeah, stuck in a run. First time I remember both the commission and the department at the same time. And then I have this on here. Come over here and then I have this up. Have to say a few words. We'd like to hear a few words. Okay.
I just want to thank the Chief of Police, Chief Beck, and the council members for this really wonderful, wonderful acknowledgement. I spent the most 31 years of my life here. I mean, I grew up here. My son's grown up here. And I've really had an enjoyable time. I've loved serving the city of Los Angeles. There's a part of me that wish I could do another 31 years, but there's another part that's tired and ready to move on. But again, thank you very much. Thank you for the friends and family who are here today to join in me with this wonderful surprise. And again, I've enjoyed my time, and I thank you for this recognition. It means a lot.
Thank you again. We move on to the consent agenda items. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve items 7A through B and C.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Approved. And for the agenda, I think we will want to hear from I've just lost the page myself, the CPAB. Right. We want to hear from Captain Murphy the verbal presentation from CPAB for the Northeast area, and the department's report regarding the foreign language telephone call procedures inspection. Anything else that this group wishes to listen to now? I'll accept a motion.
Move approval of items 8C through M.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Approved. All right, I think we'll go straight to our presentation on the CPAB. And you were there.
Yes.
Hi, good morning. I'm Captain Bill Murphy, Commanding Officer Northeast, and I have Edie Ravini, who's on my CPAB. My co-chair, unfortunately, couldn't make it today, but Edie was my previous co-chair and had done this twice before. So she's pinch hitting today and is filling in for Aida Serder, who's actually my co-chair. So thank you. We're gonna do this quickly. I know that you have a lot on your agenda, so we'll go through our initiatives. I'll talk about community outreach, and if you have any questions, we'll be glad to answer them.
Thank you.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Morning, yes, Brad, bring it a little bit
Morning.
closer to you.
Good morning.
Morning.
So we had 5 initiatives this year that we were working on, and the first 3 are new ones. The other ones are, we had given you some brochures last time when I was here. And so the first one is we created the best social media format on the LAPD. That was our goal. And the goal is to dramatically improve communication between Northeast area and the public. A committee was formed and developed resource material. We created a robust Facebook, Twitter overlay program, Nixle, and LAPD e-policing. We also trained numerous other LAPD stations in how to develop social media. The results are, we have Facebook 3,651 likes, which actually equals to fans of 1.3 million. It's a formula that they use. 1,832 Twitter followers, 1,337 full discussion items. We have 1,321 Nixle subscribers, 3,582 e-policing. We had 13 YouTube broadcasts, but we plan on doing many more this year. Generally, approximation of 100 Crime Stopper tips, created crime prevention in social world, and we are followed by all LA media. We also created a lot of other things that are not on this list. We have the QR codes, and we have, do you have that?
Yeah, QR codes is a quick way to sign up. There should be a sheet that's going around up there.
Oh, okay.
Everybody has mobile applications nowadays, so you just scan that. That takes you right to our website, so you can sign up for Facebook, Twitter. It's a quick way to get these numbers to go up dramatically.
And then we also made license plate frames with social media frame that goes on the Northeast police cars, so people can get that information from there. And then our second initiative is to establish funding source for Northeast youth programs, as there is no budget for that. And the goal is to create an annual youth program fundraising campaign with a target to raise $30,000 in 2012. The ultimate goal is $87,000 that would fund entire youth program, which is like the events that they'll be going to in their uniforms. We created a committee to formalize youth fundraising to support the cadet and Pell programs, and created a mission statement, campaign proposal documents, and audits of existing bank accounts. We reviewed different fundraising methods, began fundraising with local businesses and neighborhood councils, and will expand to foundations and grants in 2013. And we actually raised approximately $35,000 last year through all our fundraising efforts. And our golf tournament, which we do every year, is part of that. Our third initiative is we created an outreach campaign to increase CPAB membership. There are 12 districts, neighborhoods, distinct neighborhoods within Northeast area, and we want to ensure that each one has CPAB representation. We created an outreach committee to recruit new members. We had 14 committee CPAB members last year and want to increase the number to 20. We updated the CPAP bylaws to reflect the new criteria. We have already identified 9 new potential members, and the goal is to have them on board the first quarter of 2013. We continued efforts to increase camera surveillance. We continue seminars to public and police and private home security, obtained funding sources to support cameras through the chambers and neighborhood councils and elected officials. We programmed cameras in the station to be user-friendly, and we finalized new $55,000 camera system for Highland Park that actually was worked on for a very long time. And we also continue our efforts to reduce auto-related crime, and it's the #1 problem in the Northeast, which is about 50% of it. Created the 12 for 12 club program, and we sell that below cost, and those are the clubs that go in the cars. Created auto citation program. We continue to do that in English and Spanish, and we also continue with the Lock It, Hide It, Keep It flyer, which is also in English and Spanish. And auto crime down 32% since in the last 5 years, and we want to focus on educating the public on crime prevention. That's my part.
And we're going to very quickly, I have a whole laundry list of community outreach efforts. I'm not going to go into them. Just know that what we do is every quarter we go out into the community. We do not just hold the meetings at Northeast Station. About 3 years ago, we did all 12 CPAP meetings in the community. So we went out there, and we do get I've been a captain for a pretty good number of years and been involved in a lot of CPAP. So we get 30 to 40 people at a CPAP, and that's pretty good turnout. Sometimes we can get up to about 60 or 70 when we go out into the community. So we participated in CPAP summit committees, police appreciation days, national night out, summer night lights, just a whole bunch. They also give me advice on zoning administration matters, like should we approve maybe a potential controversial liquor store or something like that. So they help me out a lot on that. And I'm proud over the years we've been able to, I'm almost at my 5th anniversary at Northeast. In fact, in March it'll be 5 years there. And we drove down the crime tremendously there. But what I'm most proud of is we ended last year with 12 homicides, and over the last 4 years, all 4 of those are in the top 5, which are the lowest homicide numbers since 1970. So we had 12, 12, 8, and 15, and those numbers are just like spectacular. So tremendous drops, like 60 or 70% compared to like 6 years ago. So very proud of that. And last thing, real quickly, actually part of our Facebook, we had a community member send us a report that National Public Radio had done I guess a segment on up-and-coming neighborhoods in the country, and they went ahead and they did a survey on realtors at who is the hottest neighborhoods out of it. And these are the top 10 in the entire country. Northeast placed 3 of them in that top 10. We had the #1 neighborhood, which was Highland Park, the #4, which was Eagle Rock, and the #7, which was Glassell Park in the entire country. So very proud of that. When we turned that crime around, made a lot of money for local homeowners in the Northeast area. So, and that's it. We're open for questions.
You mentioned youth programs. You're participating in the cadet program?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we have about 100 cadets right now. We also have a PAL program, which is Police Athletic League, and specifically we're proud of our boxing program. We have a boxing program that has about 30 to 40 kids in there, so at any given time we will have around 150 or so kids. In a course of a year, some of these kids come in and they come out, so we might get close to 200 kids total in our youth programs.
Again, every time one of the groups, CPAP groups, come in here, I'm always surprised because they come up with stuff that nobody else has come up with, and I really commend you on your social media work. I think that's the first group that's really put a big focus and emphasis on that. And I'll go home tonight and I'll friend you or like you or whatever the
please, all of you.
is. And I'll follow you.
No Twitter.
Again, congratulations. I think that's a really unique focus, and I think it's a really good idea.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you.
I just have one comment and a question. I have spent some time in Northeast, and I've seen firsthand some of the great relationships the department has with various communities in the area, and commend you for that. I've seen some reports lately about some unhappiness about changes in where various people are assigned, community service officers, I think. And my sense of that is they're doing a very good job, and when they get moved, the people in their community are not happy about that. But I'm just curious if you...
Oh, yeah, I can explain that. What happened, I just recently moved the senior lead officers, and if you do that, that can be a little bit controversial with people. What happened is I had 2 senior lead officers retire. So one retired as of today, and one's retiring next month. Had a couple others that had indicated that they had been in their neighborhoods for many years and were looking for another challenge to work another neighborhood. I've been there 5 years. I never moved a senior lead officer once. So, you know, I talked to them, started prepping the community because I've been doing this for a while, and ended up doing meeting after meeting. So I think everybody's going to love their new senior lead. They're all great, and it's just a change in adjustment. So change is good sometimes, but that's what it was.
Right, I assume that's what it was. I appreciate your
Yeah, when you
explaining
start
that.
moving those slows around.
Oh yeah, that's yeah, that can be something. But we have a great lineup, so I know it'll be great.
Thank you.
So,
Well, if there are no other questions, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you for filling in at the last minute.
Sure, no problem.
Thank you, Bill. Thanks, Bill.
We'll hear from the department now on the foreign language telephone call procedures inspection.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I think we all know the extraordinary challenges of having our foreign language telephone calls handled in an appropriate way. I remember that from when I was here before. Perhaps you can tell us, one, what we've been trying to do and where we are now and where we hope to be in the future.
Let's start with the report.
Let's start with the report.
I'll go ahead and just very quickly go over the report. So before you is the foreign language telephone call procedure inspection. Want to just call your attention to an update under the prior inspection heading. You see there was 2 recommendations that were made in the last inspection. The first one was completed and implemented by the department. The second one, which entailed recommendation to eliminate the use of automated answering systems, which only provide service in certain languages at the respective geographic areas. The department chose not to eliminate those answering machines, but rather reconfigure the automated phone tree to have a standard single greeting message. And at the time of the writing of this report, it was still pending. They had completed 12 geographic areas. However, as of January 20th of this year, they had completed 19 geographic areas, and it was completed, and the recommendation is closed. The other 2 geographic areas, the phone systems are outdated, and they don't have answering systems. So they had completed the recommendation, and it was implemented. Very briefly, methodology. This inspection was only one objective, and it was placing calls, 2 calls to each geographic area, total of 42 calls. The results, 20 of the 42 calls met the standard. And if you look at table number 2 on page 3, really it's pretty even as far as how they're being handled across the city at each bureau. And that is approximately about half the calls are being handled appropriately. Notwithstanding, there's still some room for improvement, despite the 17% increase from last year. So there has been some improvement, 17% increase in how the calls are being handled. And that concludes my presentation.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Matt Blake, by the way, 25350, and I'm the assistant to the director of the Office of Operations. I appreciate the 17% increase. It's 48% total. I remember I was last night I was talking to my wife about it, and she's an English teacher, and she said that's still a D. And so, I said thank you. I didn't need to be reminded of that. But it is. I mean, as we look at over the last 4 years, I will say just one of the positive issues that we did see is that as we look at the last four years, we were at in 2009, 2010, we were at 20%, and then we went to 46, and then we went to 38 last year. And currently we're at 48. So there is an increase, although we are not satisfied at all. And I don't think there's anyone in the Office of Operations that'd be satisfied with a D. I kind of want to, if it's possible, just to show you that we take these audits very seriously. I want you to know that this was this one above. I can't imagine another one that was anywhere close to this, to the response that occurred, not only from the director of OO, but for all the bureaus. If I were to bring you back to last year, this is when we walked into the director's office. He actually had a meeting with the 4 bureau chiefs with the specific purpose of talking about accountability. The chief of police knows that we've trained all these folks. He knows that, as do you. And at some point you say, okay, we've trained you. Now, what are you doing if you're not doing your job? So accountability was a big piece of this. Especially considering that this is serious because it's also our most vulnerable citizens. Some of those that are monolingual, that aren't familiar with our country, aren't familiar with our city or even how policing works. Proper service is very important, and we see that, and we will not stop until we're done making this right. So, even though we've trained them before, we ended up getting together with the direct reports. Chief Paysinger made sure that we had in his meeting. He made sure that we were putting together an additional training and inspection plan to ensure that we can manage and deal with the anomalies that occur during these kinds of audits. I will say that this was serious enough where the director basically held them all accountable and said that unless there are steps that you have made in your audits for each one of your bureaus, if there's a failure, then you're held accountable. As we talk about what happened, there was the training. What we did this time versus last time is when we did all the training for them, we didn't document the training anywhere. So now it's all in LMS, or they signed for it as any kind of an order that shows they have been trained. Therefore, once we started doing our own inspections, they were able to be held accountable. After that, we began our inspections, and we were very aggressive. Our back office did over 400 inspections during the first month, and our first couple months with the intent that we won't stop until it's perfect. We have a very good back office with it's very, very diverse, and we came up with all kinds of languages.
When did you do these inspections? Over what period of time?
Well, as you know, we're here in January, but really the audit results are kind of coming out in October.
Right.
So we got the hint that we didn't do so well, and so we immediately began ramping up these inspections. And again, as a result of the meeting with Chief Paysinger, he confirmed these will be done, and we started right away. So they're somewhere around in the period of the end of December, the beginning of January, and we went about 33 work days straight through with 400 audits until we came up with perfection.
So are you saying that as a result of the more recent inspections and audits you've been doing, you've seen a significant improvement over these numbers?
No. We're talking about actually the year prior. Oh, well, you mean from where we started? Yes.
Your inspections were, but your inspections were in the last 60 days, is what you're saying?
No.
A year ago?
Yeah, a year ago.
Okay,
I'm bringing us back to show what we've done since the last time we were together.
Okay, I misunderstood. Okay.
Yes, sir. Bringing us back to where we were when we were right after we had found out what the inspections were from IAID. We went very seriously went after this issue until.
Commander, this is in response to the audit where there was 38%.
Yes, sir.
Right? Okay.
That's exactly right. Sorry for not being clear on that. As a result of those audits, in the beginning, our inspections in the beginning, the results weren't great. They were rough, just like they found. And multiple comment cards went out. multiple accountability measurements went out, and in addition to that, and some of them actually turned it up into complaints. Some of the responses were such that we believe it turned into misconduct. So as a result, a lot of accountability went on. Not only once we finally got it down where we believe we were hitting on all cylinders, we were getting 100%, we started to hit it about every other month. And as we did, we stayed between 80 to 95%, which is well above anything we're seeing here, well above that.
Yeah, so what happened?
Yeah.
Well, that's a great question. So then they come in. We're thinking we're doing well. We're getting 80 to 95%. They come in October and the next year, which is this last October, and we get the 48%. Unbelievable. What is the reason? I got to tell you, we've been frustrated, and I can't say I know 100%, but I can tell you this, that as a result of that, when we found that out, we had to now analyze why this is happening. And one of the things that we did was we started looking at the methodology of our audits versus theirs. Did we do it just like they did it? And in fact, the answer is no. The differences, and I'll just get them just briefly. When our back office would call the front desk, if somebody were on the phone and they put us on hold and they disconnected, we'd call them back. And when we'd call them back, inevitably, after the first time, the second time, we'd get service. If there was a time where, whether it was a disconnection or if we were disconnected, or if they put us on hold too long, we'd call right back and they'd service.
So you were counting that as a success, and they were counting that as a failure.
They were, yeah, absolutely, we were. But yet, the interesting piece is that when we asked our auditors, which was our back office, the reason we started to change our methodology is they said, we've all worked that front desk. You know, it's not like the bank where somebody comes up and you're dealing with just this person at the window. This is something where not only are you dealing with the person at the window, but the phone's ringing all the time. And it's like the guy at the bank that will then take an application for a loan while you're standing there in front of him. And so the customer service aspect of people that come into the station, which should kind of have a level of priority as they're standing there, we tend to grab the phone and put them on hold and set it down. Finish that document, then pick up the phone. So that's the reason you'll see some of these longer delays.
Commander, if I may inquire,
yes, sir.
What is the nature of the type of calls that come into the stations as opposed to?
All kinds, from something as simple as the address to they need a report because their car was stolen.
Okay.
But I think the Commissioner brings up a good point. Our primary service delivery phone numbers are 911 and 311.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
And not the front desk.
Yes.
No, that's my point. I'm very, we're not happy with the numbers, and you're not happy with the numbers, but I'm very pleased that you recognize the importance of serving this community, because they are often the most vulnerable, and often, the department's the only persons that can help them, perhaps even with mundane questions that really don't rise to the level of calling the police department, but it's helpful, and it's good for our community. But I noticed the number one thing here is line disconnected. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest problem.
Yes.
And so, is it equipment? I mean, since I've been here, I've gone around to various of the stations, and the one thing that I can tell you with 100% is the people who are manning the front desks seem to be extraordinarily courteous to the people that are there. Now that you say it, I haven't seen them in a situation where they're answering the phones, though. I've only seen them interacting with the public in the front desk, and I've often thought and commented that these guys seem to be really helpful.
Yes.
But I see the phone disconnects. Is that a mechanical problem, or?
No, well, I mean, some of our systems are old. I guess that's possible, but that's not what we found. We found that, whether they pick it up, they try to put it on hold, the button's old, they hit it, and it maybe it goes off. It could be an accident. I don't believe anybody is purposefully hanging up. And in those kind of cases, if we see that or if we believe that, obviously that's neglect. But where we do have some problem is in some of those, actually the largest problem is the fact that we didn't follow through with the whole system, the whole process. We get the phone call, we transfer it to communications, we're supposed to stay on the line. So while we're staying on the line waiting for communications comes on, then it goes to the foreign language bank, and we're supposed to stay there. wait until they determine what the problem is, and maybe come back to us and say, hey, this is what you need to do. Well, what was happening is our officers on the majority of these calls, they'll wait till they get to communications, they say thank you very much, they hang up, and communications deals with the call. I mean, this is a citywide problem. It's an entire LAPD, and although ideally it would be best for us to stay on that on the line, the reality of it is in our inspections, when we finally did get transferred to foreign language, they handled our problem. So it was handled. So I think a lot of these officers are taking that moment and saying, I've got these people lined up here, I just transferred this to communications, I'm going to stick with this guy. And I think that's what we see. Now, as far as the disconnecting, the only disconnection issue that we found was that in about 6 of the, talking to ITB, in 6 of the divisions that we're dealing with, after you get more than 3 callers online, it disconnects.
The system does that on its own?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, that's
most of them are 6 calls. Some of them are 3.
Really?
So we just found that out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, because that's like almost half of the problem is phone disconnects.
Yeah. But I think the ones that they're referring to on phone disconnects aren't those. I'd love to say that they were, unfortunately, and I appreciate that. But the reality of it is the phone disconnects that they're referring to are those that once they make the transfer to communications,
They hang up.
they hang up.
Oh, okay.
So the phone disconnects are those calls where you call the front desk, we say, can you hold please, put it down, and at some point it disconnects, whether they didn't push the hold button before they put it down. But this is really an issue of customer service for us.
I understand.
I don't see a lot of this as foreign language issue. Anybody who calls the front desk or calls busy stations like that, they find themselves getting disconnected, I think, whether they speak English or whether they speak, Spanish or whatever that other language is. So clearly, can we do better in our customer service? Absolutely, and we will. We did take a look at what it would take in addition to what we've talked about. We've talked about the difference in our methodologies. The other thing that we did was, as a result of this, to drill down even deeper, we had a meeting. We brought in a work group, I think is probably a better way to put it, from police officers that work the front desk, to sergeants, to watch commanders, assistant watch commanders, and captains. Sat around the table and said, okay, what's the problem? And many, many things came up about the number of deployment that we put at the desk. Deployment goes like this at the desk. When you're sitting at the front desk, you can have nobody in there for a long period of time, or then all of a sudden you turn around, you say, I'm going to go grab something to eat real quick. You come back, and there's 10 people in line. And then you're bringing cars in from the outside. So finding deployment and finding that sweet spot in deployment is very difficult. And so when you leave it up to our commanding officers, our captains, they're thinking, do I put an extra police car in the field? Or do I take that police car of 5 officers now, because that's what it takes to deploy a guy 7 days a week, do I put that in our front desk? And generally, with our push toward crime, we tend to fault on that side. So we're trying to find what that sweet spot is as far as deployment for customer service and community service, and then for that which we need out in the field for crime reduction. The couple things that came up as well is we have now got an order. It's something that the chief of OO has not necessarily completely seen all of the details of it, as it's really fresh. But from that work group, we came up with some stuff such as the officer of the watch. Watch commanders are highly taxed, as we can see in a lot of our audits that we have. And where we have a lot of our breakdowns is at that location. And it's because they don't have somebody to assist them. And an officer of the watch would be a senior police officer that would be there to be able to go out to the front desk, see that it's busy, and become a greeter, or become, somebody, a traffic coordinator for those people that are coming in. Okay, you're going to detectives, go up here. And a lot of that would alleviate the problem. The other thing that they recommended is that we do some sort of like a phone bank, a call center. Phone bank, yeah. Not like we had in IRO, although they did like that as well, which was one central location where everybody's phones rang, but in their own station. So you'd take a couple people that would sit at the front of the desk and would take people that would come in, and then you'd have somebody maybe in the watch commander's office just beside them or behind them that are doing nothing but handling calls. And we believe, and this is where the direction we're going to go, we believe that we're going to be able to make a difference in this as well. And I can tell you that as frustrated as you all are, we are as well. You read that audit and you wonder, how is it possible? How are we not getting it? And we see it and feel the exact same way. And you almost feel like your reputation's online and that you've got to fix this thing. And as we do feel that way. And we're committed to serving those folks in our community that are more vulnerable. And we won't stop. And this year, I'm hoping is the last year we have this kind of interaction.
And it sounds as if that you're successful, it's going to make a difference across the community, because it sounds as if a lot of people are getting disconnected right now.
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
If I just might, a couple comments. As you've expressed and others up here have, obviously, we're not satisfied with the results. Commander Blake and I have had a conversation privately about this. I'm pleased with what you've talked to us today about, that you're not satisfied with it, that you're responding to it, that it sounds to me like you have put a lot of thought into figuring out some systemic changes that should help solve this problem. And I support that, and if I can be helpful anyway going forward, I'd be happy to do that. I had one question on the disconnect issue that you were describing. The call comes in and is transferred to the foreign language desk. The policy says for your officer to stay on the line, and in many cases they don't, but the foreign language desk is handling the problem. I guess this is really a question more for the audit division, which is, as you do this again, I wonder if there's a way for you to figure out whether what's happening to those calls that are going to the foreign language desk after the disconnection. Because I don't know how hard it would be to do that, but where I'm going is, if a significant percentage, 90% of those are being handled properly, first of all, the customer service issue is solved, and second, that raises a question of whether we ought to change the policy about staying on the line. And I just don't know enough about it, but I would encourage you to, in the audit division, and Commander Blake as well, as you think about this, whether you can work through that and whether in fact that's actually a solution to the problem. I just don't know.
Yes, sir. And as far as changes in methodologies and how we go about doing these inspections and audits, we are definitely open to changes in methodologies. That's something we can explore.
Right. And along those lines, I would encourage you, at least to, if you haven't already, to sit down with Commander Blake and his folks to go through how your audits are different from their audits. And obviously, if you could reach agreement, that would be best. But perhaps there are some areas where what you're doing is better, you would convince him, and there may be some on the other direction. So I think we'd all be better off if the results of the audits were good. Short of that, we'd all be better off if the results of the audits were the same. Right. So at any rate, I encourage you to do that. The last thing is there's a brief mention in this audit about I would like to end on a very positive note. And there's a brief mention in this on, let's see, it's on the page 2 of 3 in the top paragraph regarding the TDDs and the TTYs, so service for people with hearing disabilities. And this audit was not about that, but the two have come to us together periodically. And I just want to point out that there's been tremendous progress on the TDD and TTY issue. I'm looking forward to hearing. I know that's about to get audited again. I'm hopeful the results there will be positive, but I know there's been a tremendous amount of progress, and my guess is and hope is there'll be similar progress on this issue next time we see it.
And I think that thing that you're suggesting, one of the options that you're suggesting about having, once they get to the communications that we disconnect, is exactly what happened with the TTD. Communications is handling all of those.
Right. Once you have the confidence level that is what's happening and it's satisfactory, of course we would rather have your officers doing what they should be doing
Right.
rather than waiting on the warrant. But we just need to confirm that.
And I'll meet with Captain Justice from Communications Division, talk about the impact on that.
Well, as I said, I'm interested in this. If I can help in any way, I'm happy to. Any way I can.
Thank you, sir.
Just to add, typically, yes, Commissioner, that component of TDD would be added to this inspection because of that new process that is implemented.
Right.
We just thought it'd be good to let it go
I
ahead
agree.
and situate itself before we conduct
Right.
an inspection on it.
Perfect.
Commander, if I may make another suggestion, and it's a rough suggestion based on just reading this and thinking about it, and it's based on the premise that I think the calls that we get at the facilities aren't necessarily emergency calls or things that would require the expertise of a police officer. Have we given thought to using some of our volunteers for that? I'm thinking because when I've seen the CPAPs, they seem to be very reflective of the communities that surround the stations in terms of their diversity, in terms of their makeup and such. And I think that it might help in terms of the language issue. Yes. It might help in terms of other things. And I could see a situation where if all they want to do is know where to send something, or if they have a regular call, that you don't need to use a police officer to do that sort of community service and help. And I know we have so many persons that are very, dedicated volunteers. Has there been any thought given to, I know it would require training. I know someone would have to put together a booklet with phone numbers and who to do this, and, when people call for help and they really need their garbage taken out or something, you have to help them find the right person. Has there been given any thought to taking this phone function out of the hands of folks that law enforcement and put them in the volunteers to do that? Not the front desk. That should still be an officer for any number of reasons. But this function, has any thought of maybe using some of those volunteer resources that we have available?
Yes, sir. And that from division to division, you'll see different levels of cooperation and volunteerism. Some of the divisions, I'll just use mine as for example. When I was a captain, we had a sign-up sheet, and every day we had a Korean-speaking person who actually was able to answer phones, was there to translate, so we weren't forwarding calls. You'll see that in a lot of divisions they have that, where they actually have community members, cadets, fully functioning cadets are functioning almost the entire front desk. And so we do have that in place in a lot of different places, and it has to do with the level of volunteerism, the aggressiveness within the command as far as trying to get that process going. But you're absolutely right. But regarding just the phone calls themselves, there still might need to be, they might be able to take a message if it's something that's beyond their capabilities, and then hand that message off with a phone number. But yeah, it's absolutely not only a good idea, but it is being done in some areas.
Has there been any review of performance in those areas where they've used the volunteers as opposed to areas where they haven't, or is it
nothing official that I'm aware of? And
anything anecdotal?
Well, I think that what we're seeing is that every single time that they put a a civilian or even a community member or a cadet in the place, they take the place of a police officer to a great degree. And so those divisions that are doing that are being wise, and they're actually becoming more successful because they are able to field those calls. But they don't necessarily one for one. Can we do that? But
I understand.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking maybe something should be considered with a sort of a standardized training, a standardized list of information based on experience. And
it's a great idea.
Just because I tend to think, there's better uses for the officer's time than this, I think.
Yes, sir. That'll be a part of our next push.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me.
Go ahead.
Just thank you very much for all you've done since the second audit, and what I expect we will all see here. And obviously, you have a lot of volunteers up here to try and help in this regard.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam President, we do have one comment card on this item. We have Mr. Tut Hayes.
It's interesting, the manner in which phone calls made to the police are made and taken care of. That's good. But what about the fact that people are in the custody of the police? and they have to make a phone call, or should make a phone call. They should be allowed to make the phone call on the Penal Code Section 851.5. When you're in the lockup, there are telephones available to make free phone calls, and there's an announcement, computerized, that says these phone calls may be tape recorded or monitored. But it's never in Spanish. It's never in any other language other than English. The fact that you can't make that phone call because for whatever reason the LAPD and various stations will not allow the phone call to be made. So what's necessary is to have that announcement, first of all, in 2 languages at least, English and Spanish, so that people be aware of the fact that the call they make to their attorney is a confidential call, is a non-monitored call, is a non-taped call. And it might be interesting to have that language in English also, because English speakers need to know that, because the fact that 851.5 must be posted, it is never posted. It's even worse than that. I'll give the details to anyone on your staff who wishes to make an inquiry. But phone calls in custody are very serious matters. You should be able to call a family member or a friend, a bondsman, or your attorney, or the public defender. So I would hope that the Commission sees fit to investigate whether foreign languages are provided when persons are in custody wishing to make a phone call, particularly that non-monitored tape-recorded call to your attorney, to your lawyer. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
I move approval of regular agenda item 8B.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And it's now a public comment period.
Yes, Madam President, we have 3 cards. We have Daniel Jones, followed by Ted Hayes, and then Michael Hunt.
Photographers walk on these, they have to record everything I say. Good morning. What are y'all trying to talk about cutoff calls to the police department? You're sitting there listening to them right now. That Stingray or whatever that, thank you for the Los Angeles Weekly News. You are starting to set the table. You are finally starting to ask the last question first. This is an example, Corporal. Chief, what are you still doing here? Anyways, this equipment was built for one purpose only, to bypass the judge. Basically, because you can get the same equipment, the same information through a court order through the carrier. It's a delay tactic. Here's what I'm worried about. The same thing Herbert Hoover did. He collected legal information. What if 2 people are having in an affair? Let's just stop the police department from coming over and getting a little money from them. Let's just stop the police department from overhearing proprietary business information and going over to your competitor and, telling them what your contract bid number is. What if they overhear, Grandma coming back from the bank. Hang on, Grandpa, I'll be back from the bank as soon as I stop by. Let's just stop the police department from, making a stop. Robbing them right in the middle of the street. Herbert Hoover did it for 50 years. The only way we stopped that monster was that, he had to die. The police commissioner, I recognize the point that you tried to make with the chief about other policies. I recognize that basically he said to you, I see that. I know where you're going. Chief, police commissioners, it's called a federal bill of complaint. I can induce anybody in this room to go down there and talk to the judge, federal magistrate. And there's going to be 3 minutes on that complaint. October 1st, 10:29 p.m., 10:30 p.m., and 10:31 p.m. Chief, whether you knew it or not, or whether the mayor knew it or not, he gave you a loyalty test, and you failed it. You were not allowed to answer that question. You jumped into his frying pan. Now, through this whole process, I realized that. And, hopefully the rest of the people are going to see what this is. Mark, I want you to keep your job, but you're not going to take this police department into the negative.
2 minutes are up now. Thank you.
Right?
Mr. Ted Hayes.
I would hope that every police agency becomes socially, culturally, and ethnically aware of the purpose of waistbands. The best indication of the purpose of the waistband was a televised robbery in Vegas, where the robbers, who were black, were attempting to escape, but they were holding up their trousers as they ran. I'm sure you know that some young populations walk around holding up their trousers. That's the purpose of the waistband. So when recently a sheriff's officer shot a man in the back 5 times because he was reaching for his waistband, and they perceived he was going for a weapon. So they shot him in the back 5 times, also in the arms. So when officers contend that they only murdered the person, I call it murder, because they were reaching for their waistbands, lots of young people do that to keep their attire above their buttocks, or at least not below their buttocks. So the community is concerned about this waistband issue, and it's just to go for your waistband while you're being pursued or even spoken to by an officer, and they perceive you must be going for a gun. In many instances, no weapon is ever found or discovered. So the training has to go on. Would you improve your perceptions, be a little less hesitant on your concern about your safety and the safety of others, and not shoot people who simply hold up their trousers? So we know, and you know, that the waistband is the purpose for holding up your trousers.
Thank you. And now we will...
We have one more, Madam
I'm
President.
sorry.
Michael Hunt.
I'm sorry.
Good morning, good morning. I'm down here on a courtesy visit. Venice Beach is a problem. It's starting to reoccur again. Same kind of policing, selective enforcement. People are not happy with the way it's being enforced, and the complaints, over 100 complaints on one officer, Sergeant Daniel Gonzalez. My thing is to work it out in the community level at first. Come down here, let you guys know what's happening. Let you know that we're not happy, the community is not happy. Meeting is a meeting with Captain John Peters, so we're going to try and handle it at the local level before I really get involved in things like that. But the enforcement, they're nickel and diming us. Some things, just because you can doesn't mean you do, which I learned down here from all the chiefs and things like that. So, with this, what I'm trying to say is it's a lot of unnecessary stuff that's going on with law enforcement that's not even criminal, has no criminal elements to it, but have some personal and selective enforcement tactics to it. I've been one of those guys who's been targeted again. Everybody knows I've received 40 citations plus probably another 18 since. I don't mind the citations because I can beat the city attorney at any time. The paperwork is being done to suspend the ordinance because it's unconstitutional again. But to keep on rehashing the same thing over and over again, and just like the birdseed arrest on YouTube, if you go look at that kind of enforcement, it's ridiculous, and it's ridiculous that LAPD is engaging in that kind of activity. Please, whatever you guys can do, help me out, and let's work this out together.
Thank you.
And that's the final card, Madam President.
And now we will recess and go to closed session items, which are listed in number 10.
The Board of Police Commissioners will now recess into closed session to discuss item numbers 10A1 and 10A2 in accordance with Government Code 54957. closed session, item number 10A1 was discussed and the chief's recommendations were unanimously adopted. In closed session, item number 10A2 was discussed and the chief's recommendations were unanimously adopted. Madam President, is there a motion for adjournment?
Move to adjourn. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
My name is Eric.
My name is May.
We are in Chinatown.
You're watching LA City View, Channel 35. Our city, our channel.
I've never grew anything before in my life, nothing, until I joined the garden. And all the members who were already there, they taught me how to clean it out, how to plant, how to do everything. And now I have watermelons, cantaloupes, onions, everything you can think of that I didn't even know I knew how to grow. So I'm real proud of my garden, very proud.
It's better than therapy. It really is. This place is really, it's so conducive to meditation, to coming and spending quiet time with yourself, to understanding what makes a thing grow, just to see it planted, you work the soil, you see it come to fruition, and then you take it home and eat it.
Harvest, this is the best part. You get all kinds of vegetables and herbs. It's really nice.
This has been a tough neighborhood, I tell you, and I really have seen this garden take hold and become like an oasis. It really is.
The community garden is a perfect environment to show a multidisciplinary approach and a multidisciplinary solutions to problems.
You have patience and you actually see the corns and whatever you're growing